Okay, this is last call. We're about to start our workshop. You guys want to submit your resume for roasting at the end of the shop, scan the QR code. There's a Google form there. And even if you don't, scan it anyway, because that's the sign-in link and it's optional to submit your resume. Okay, so this workshop is our Cracking the Career Fair workshop. So if you don't know already, Career Fair is next week. I think 1 to 6 is the AI workshop on Monday, or not the AI workshop, the AI fair on Monday. So definitely, if you're interested in any of the companies that are attending, make sure you show up. And we're providing you guys some information about how to create your resume and to recruiters in a way that you can actually stand out and make sure that everything you've done over the past year is presented well and kind of make yourself seem engaging to the masses of students that are also presenting to that recruiter. So basically the contents of the slideshow, we're going to do this for like 30-40 minutes, I think, and then we'll move on to actually looking over the resumes that were submitted. The first part is just going over the resume, right? What does a resume need? What are the do's and don'ts? What makes a good resume over just a mediocre one? Then we'll be going over an elevator pitch, right? What is the point of an elevator pitch? What should it include? And then we'll just have a brief section on how to actually approach the day of the career fair, including talking to recruiters. All right, so we'll start with probably the point that everyone is here is most familiar with, and that is the resume. So it's difficult to boil down, years of CS experience into just one piece of paper, hopefully one piece of paper. Could make it longer, but it's not recommended. So you really got to work to highlight the ups of what you've done, all the projects, all the experiences, all the skills that you've learned, and make sure that they stand out to the recruiter in a way that like separates, because at the end of the day, everyone here that's taken programming 1 and 2 has learned Python, has learned C++. I guess if you're older, you learned Java and C++, but that's besides the point. Certain things everyone knows. And through your even like Minesweeper project, right? If you did that through programming, there's a billion different ways to write that on a resume. And certain ways of writing that down is going to make it seem much more appealing to recruiters. So just a general overview of what you do and don't want to do. So first of all, keep it short. The number one thing you don't want to do is like, if you're walking up to a recruiter on career fair day, you hand them like a stapled like packet of papers and you're like, here's my resume. No, it's just got to be one page. And when you get further into college, you might say like, okay, I've done all this cool stuff. I've learned all these cool things. How do I keep it to just one page? At the end of the day, that means you're going to have to make sacrifices, right? There's certain things you're going to have to cut out, you're going to have to leave out, and in favor of other larger, greater projects. But at the end of the day, you're always improving, right? And your resume is a reflection of that. So make sure that your resume is showing like the greatest things you've done and not necessarily just watered down with all the things that all the tiny little things that you've done over your college career. Obviously, also keep it consistent. You don't want, in some bullet points like 11-point font and then other places like 10-point font, or just really like unreadable use of like italics and bolding. It's really not recommended, right? You want it to be something that the recruiter can look at easily and that they can understand. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to spend too long on each resume. And even worse, like if you just have an AI software, maybe reading your resume, you want that to be able to break down your resume into readable sections, to be able to parse that quickly and effectively. And having, totally just unreasonable expectation or setups with how everything's done formatting wise is just not going to work in that regard. So make sure it's readable. Next point, keep it simple, right? You might think of as a resume, right? You're a recruiter, they're getting handed, hundreds or whatever of resumes. You want one that stands out. But at the end of the day, that doesn't end up being the truth, right? I've seen a bunch of resumes for companies that are like have super fancy graphics, maybe sprinkle in some color, have some like graphs or yeah, any graphical elements, but that ends up hurting more than helping. And especially with what I talked about with having automatic parsers of your resume, they can't really read those graphics and designs as well as humans can. So in this kind of digital age, stick to something that is consistent and readable. And then if you haven't heard of Jake's resume already, I pulled it up right here. Let me throw it up here. This is Jake's resume template. It's really good, as you can see, at following the previous like guidelines. You can see it's just one page. It's very consistent, very like clean with how it's formatted. So if you're unsure with to proceed, or I mean, like in general, definitely recommend looking up a template, especially this one. It's just called Jake's resume. You can see at the top, because you can really see how well it like communicates all these features, and it just it's nothing fancy, sure, but it really just gets the job done. Okay, so what do you actually need to include on the resume? So obviously, the first step, you need your name, you need your contact info, right? How a recruiter is going to identify you and reach out to you if they decide to move forward with you as a candidate. You can see at the top there, phone numbers, emails, LinkedIn and GitHub links, really great stuff to have up there. Because with the GitHub link, recruiters can obviously look at what you've done over the years, look at what you're proficient in, really it'll show them your skills, and allowing them to get into contact with you, also great. Then you want your education, right? Obviously, everyone here, I mean, maybe some of you guys are like at Santa Fe, but you'll have University of Florida there. A lot of recruiters will look at the graduation date because, and it's kind of like not always a positive thing, because they will look at people often like juniors and sophomores who are like graduating soon, so they can hopefully like convert them into full time. So then there's some kind of like shenanigans that go on with that, but make sure you have your graduation date, because a lot of at the end of the day, what will happen is a lot of recruiters will end up looking at that. Also include your GPA. So Jake here did not include his GPA, which I don't know what that actually means for his academic performance, but as long as it's like above like 3.0, you're basically showing your recruiters like, yo, I'm not failing. So take that into consideration. Usually firms aren't really picky like in regards to your actual academic performance, unless you're going into like quant or something. You don't need above like a 3.75 or whatever. As long as you can show them like, yo, I'm competent. I have like a functional brain, and you can see that through all these projects and experience I have, you'll be okay. So if it's like above 3.0, just slap it on there. Relevant coursework, that's probably most applicable to like data structures. So I was always told, like, once you take data structures, make sure you're putting it on the resume, because a lot of companies will kind of use it as the baseline of, is this person like technically competent enough to work?
All right, so for the experience section, this is going to be huge for anyone applying for internships and everything. So that's going to include your internships, your TA, your research, your officer positions, any like thing that's going to demonstrate initiative. That's something huge that recruiters like to see. So, you know, he's got some good stuff: undergrad research, IT support, AI research assistant. So if you're not in any of these, you could always like talk to one of us to try to like figure out how the process is to get into them. But regardless, you want to really embellish this part. We're going to talk about the XYZ format later on. I think that's on the next slide, but that's also huge. For the project section. So for computer science, GPA is going to be like, you want to have a good GPA, but the thing about computer science is even with a low GPA, you can make up for that with having a lot of projects. Projects are going to show how you demonstrate your technology. So see how he has like Python, Flask, React listed in his projects. That's going to mean more to the recruiter than just listing out anyone can type out, Git, Docker, React in their technical skills section, right? But not anyone can demonstrate how they use it in the project section. So you want to really focus on that one for computer science. If you have a GitHub link, that's going to be helpful as well, a demonstration link as well. Stuff that's going to, you could think this out as well. See, what would you like to see in a computer science student if you're a recruiter, right? You're going to want to see how they can employ like what they've learned in class, take it outside of class. A lot of you are early, a lot of you are freshmen, right? So you're not going to have like too many projects. You can also use some of your class projects, like Max was saying. Now like Minesweeper and stuff like that, you might run into some issues with like putting it on your GitHub. I know like a lot of classes don't want you to post that. So, figure out with your teacher whether that's something you could do or not. But like obviously stuff that you do on your own is going to be worth way more than stuff you do in class because it shows initiative. That's going to be huge. Last thing, is your anything else? Your technical skills. See in this resume, they kind of just lumped languages, frameworks, developer tools, libraries into their technical section. That's going to be like keywords for your ATS systems, right? Anything that's like scanning your resume for keywords, you're going to want to just like throw out everything put it in your other section. Yeah, and I guess we can like go on to the next slide. We're going to talk about the XYZ format. Yeah, so action verbs are huge. If you look at the first word in any of these bullet points, developed, explored, communicated, you want to do something that's going to like pull in the viewer, pull in the recruiter. So there's a lot of websites online. You could just look up action verbs, get you a good list of like, I think there's probably a ton of websites that say like 105 action verbs to put on your resume. Those are really nice to look at if you look those up. XYZ formula. So this is like a Google Recruiter thing. You can look up the exact Google Recruiter that said this. I don't remember, but it's a very common strategy you'll see in a lot of resumes. So if you look at this line, contributed 50K lines of code to an established code base via Git, right? So XYZ formula says establish or accomplish X as measured by Y by doing Z, right? So that's 3 parts. You're going to say what you did, a number. So you want to like quantify it somehow. And then you want to say how you did it, what tools you used, what technologies you used. If it's like a leadership position, you could say like how you took initiative to go out of your way and do that. So XYZ formula is huge. You want to try to put every bullet point with that formula. Try to put as many numbers as you can in your resume. Those are going to attract the recruiter's attention. Include quantification, same thing, right? Include numbers, include ways you can measure it. Say like you did an internship where you wrote like a web application that increased, say you decrease user time taken to do a task by 50%, right? Those are going to be quantifications that recruiters want to see. What impact did you have? Right? And then don't ramble, right? There's a 10-second rule that's very common. Recruiters only are looking at your resume for 10 seconds, right? Like take 10 seconds, look at this resume, see what are you going to like understand from this resume. 10 seconds is not a lot of time because they're going through a lot of resumes. So they kind of have to like skim through everything. 10-second rule is huge. You want to just make it flashy with words, obviously not with graphics. We talked about that earlier, but like try to put as many quantifications, any like words, demonstrate your impact in as like little as possible, right? Make it concise. Yeah, so these are some resources. You can like note these down on your phone or something. We might post the slides later. So I think there's links underlined, which you can use to look up. So yeah, make sure to check these out after the workshop.
All right, and now we're on to the elevator pitch. So this is one of the most important things that you'll have to learn. It's the first impression that you'll make on recruiters, and you'll be doing it for a long time coming, every interview. So most importantly, introduce yourself, give a firm handshake, say your name, your year, your field of study. Just give some background about yourself, explain your interests, your current experience. One thing I like to do is I like to talk about my past experience. I'll say I was a former intern at here or here. This is what I've been doing. I talk about what I'm currently doing, say how I'm contributing, and my current experience, what I'm working on. And I'll go into my interests, like if you're a data science student or you're interested in machine learning or you're into blockchain, it's important to talk about that. Kind of gives you a little bit more personality. And then, of course, you'll want to ask for what you want. So if you're talking to a recruiter who's hiring for a software engineering position, you'll want to say you're looking to be a software engineer. So make sure you keep your elevator pitch short, kind of like one paragraph in length. You don't want to talk for more than a minute. Make sure you memorize what you're going to say. You just don't want to be rambling on and on, just having incomplete sentences and not know what you're saying. So there you go. All right. Talking to recruiters.
Okay, so talking to recruiters is kind of with your elevator pitch, but just some extra like notes. So kind of Andrew mentioned already, you want to start off with a handshake. Then you introduce yourself with your elevator pitch. During this, you want to make sure you're positive and you're engaged. Then you want to show that you have a genuine interest in the company. So make sure you do your research beforehand. Don't go to a company that you don't know anything about, because they'll know. Recruiters talk to so many applicants every day. They'll know if you actually know anything about the company. Also, when you're researching the company, make sure to think of like questions that you want to ask the recruiter that helps show that you actually did your research. You're interested in that job. You want to learn more about it. So that's one of a quick tip. Next slide. So some other tips. You want to apply beforehand. Any company that you're interested in, look them up like for the career fair, see what companies are there. Look up if they have any roles open already. You want to apply to those beforehand. That kind of just gives you a step already. Then you want to plan your route. So there's a lot of companies at the career fair, right? You won't have time to talk to all of them because there's lines at each one. You want to make sure you kind of just jot down what are your favorite companies, what are some companies you may not be your favorite, but you're also interested in. Kind of just write them down, and then you can see a map of where they're at. You want to kind of plan a route that will, be time efficient. Hit up companies that are right next to each other. But you also want to make sure you don't waste your time, right? Don't go into it without knowing where each company is, because then you'll lose a lot of your time, kind of just thinking of that while you're there. Also, you want to tailor your resume. There's a lot of different points that you have on your resume. For a specific company, maybe they have a role for, AI, and you really want that. You want to tailor your resume towards that. So you want to talk about how you demonstrated skills that are needed to work in an AI role, right? Or any projects that have to do with AI. You want to focus on those more, and then projects that don't have to do with it, kind of just talk about them less, right? Focus on the AI one. And then last quick tip would be to warm up. So if you have like a really like #1 company that you want to go work at, maybe leave that one for one like later. Warm up some other companies that you're not as interested in, just so you get to warm up, kind of see what recruiters are vibing with. And then also warm up would be kind of just practice maybe with your friends, right? The day before, kind of talk with friends, do your elevator pitches, and your friend can give you feedback of how elevator pitches. Okay, so now we'll do the resume roast. Oh yeah. In case like you want to start, that QR code will take you to the sign-in form where you have a chance to submit your resume. So you want your resume to be listed, reviewed. Make sure you submit it there. I guess
Also sign in just if you don't want to submit your resume, because you need that for like budget and stuff.
Yeah, I guess we can just kind of go. Yeah, we can just do by order. Okay, all right, first resume, Ishan, am I saying that right? Does someone want to introduce themselves as the creator of this? That's you, okay, sweet. All right, so first things first, education section, obviously important. GPA 3.78, great job. You got all your skills up there, which obviously recruiters are looking for. Also, data structures already, great job. In first year, that's always really good track. One thing that's really standing out to me under these projects is you are linking the GitHub repositories and even video demos. Do they work? Pass over them? They do work. Okay. Maybe don't click them now, but that's really good because if you're submitting anything virtually, that's just super duper convenient for allowing your recruiters to learn more about that. Okay, Flix Finder. We were competing in that data structures class. Very nice. So one thing I do know is a lack of like an experience section, and as a freshman, right, that's totally cool because there's only so many, opportunities you can be exposed to in your first year. But I would just say, like, maybe even if you're not getting like an internship or something, seek out some research, seek out like on campus, seek out some like leadership opportunities, because being able to like establish like just some small bits in that experience section would be really nice. So like just going over these like specific bullet points for FlixMiner, you could see the verbs created, implemented, formed. Very nice. One thing I do, or that's often used, is instead of having a separate bullet point for like React for data visualization, blah, 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 you can just list the skills used in a project off to the side. So off to the side, like next to the name, you could just say like FlixFinder, React, Flask, Python, yada, yada. Just so you're using less space with the bullet points. But also 200 unique movies. Great job on the quantifications there. They aren't as common throughout the rest of the resume, but maybe that's something you could work on. But I understand like it is difficult to quantify a lot of these projects sometimes. So yeah, scroll down. Okay, there's a community service section. This is kind of what we were mentioning before with like the anything else, right? If you have something like this, where especially if you're organizing stuff, that's really great because that shows like your leadership skills. So honestly, this is great. If you could maybe like work on like research or something, kind of get that experience, category implemented and expanded upon. Maybe you could like kick off some of these. But I think your bullet points are pretty good, and it's great to see like all these projects you have already as a freshman. Wait, do you want? Does anyone else say? You covered the next one. Okay.
Okay, so next one is Juan. Cool. Okay, so off the bat, I really like, it's kind of like Jake's resume. It's all simple, all black and white. I like that you have the links for your projects, so that recruiters can see that. Let's see, education you have at the top, programming skills. Okay, you're keeping your dates consistent, which is good as well. That's like a small thing. You don't want your dates like different. You're keeping all your months to 3 letters. That's good too. You have certificates, your experience. You have, so really good job on the numbers. I see that you have like 75% response rate. 80% response rate for your experience. I know like the projects can be a little hard to quantify, especially like Minesweeper, and the chess game. Let's see. You also have like orchestrated production of 10 reports, so that's good. Leadership and involvement. I mean, I think you have a really good resume so far. Once you have like different projects and stuff that you can have more, numbers in them, that would be kind of just like adding to it. That's kind of like probably what you're missing right now. Are those quantifying features for your projects? Is there anything you guys see? Oh, right, yeah. So some of the bullet points are a little too long. Like the last point for experience, try to keep it to 2 lines. I know it can be a little hard when you really want to like come across with certain points, but definitely keep it 2 lines max. Try to get it 1, but 2 is the max for sure. And I think that's it, right?
Put in your GPA.
Oh, yeah.
If you can. And I just really like seeing like, okay, the thought process of like, okay, I learned SFML for Minesweeper in my class. Let's also go further and make a chess game. So I think having those things that are like unique and show your commitment is always great.
Does anyone, okay, Nicholas. All right. So right off the bat, I think you would benefit from having some sort of separation between, if you could kind of move your dates a bit more to the right, it'd make it more easily like seen. Also your bullet points. With the indentation, it looks a little bit crowded. What'd you use to make this? Yeah, I think like the bullet points, I think you could benefit if you use something like Overleaf. It makes it just the format makes it easier on the eyes and to scan. And let me see what else you have. Relevant courses looks good. GPA in progress. This is your first semester? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Do you bachelor of science? Okay. And you don't have your do you have your college? Like, are you in liberal arts or engineering? Okay. I mean, you could put that if you wanted. I think that might be like more interesting for recruiters. And then your work experience. Yeah, I see you don't have like a lot of tangible numbers or like percentages that you could include. Maybe you could include that, and also limit to just 1 line if possible. Maybe if you could shorten this a bit, you could use a tool like ChatGPT, to make it more concise, and you could use action verbs in some of these bullet points. That might make it more impactful, and try to find somewhere where you can measure like your success for these projects. But overall, they look good. I think, was Lightbox the name of your company or the company? Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks good. If you could have somewhere, maybe like the tools you use up by the location would benefit. But overall, looks good.
So yeah, quick note, I don't think it applies to anyone here, but just in future, there is a much better way to say the term GPA in progress, and it's this, 4.0. So if you don't have a GPA like yet, it's a 4.0, right? You haven't ruined it with anything. So yeah, and I did see a few like Google Docs submissions as well. And like starting out, like if you don't know like how to format it and everything, that's perfectly fine. But honestly, like if you just want to use a template like one of these, this like takes care of all the formatting for you, and you can kind of just like plug in what you've done into each of the sections. You don't have to be like super familiar with LaTeX to actually like use it, but like I would definitely recommend this because this just at the end of the day does give like a good bit more degree of like control over how you're doing your formatting. But yeah, also, where were we? Here. This stuff, like, I don't think this needs to be in the education section. honestly, you could take the work experience section, rename it to just experience and throw it all down there. Because like, as far as education goes, it's not like super relevant to actually like your CS education. And don't listen to the haters. Your skills can definitely be at the bottom of the page. I think that's where Jake puts his. Sorry. And I feel like fluent English is kind of important. No. Having a separate experience and project section is good. I just when I see like you take like these development roles, that shouldn't so much, your education should mostly just be like, this is where I'm enrolled, right? These are the courses I'm taking. And so you want to highlight that the fact that the stuff you're doing here is extracurricular, right? And so a way you can do that is by putting them in a separate section like the experience section. So that's definitely what I would recommend.
So another tip, don't like use the same action verb every time. Try to keep it like, try to do one. So like only do develop once. It can get harder as you get more bullet points, but then you can like keep it like only 2 times, right? Try not to like just always use developed or just always use integrated. Try to keep it like different verbs. That's like one tip I've heard.
Karthik. Let me see. GPA 3.92, good stuff. Data structures and algorithms is the huge one that a lot of recruiters are going to ask you for. I guess that's just like the biggest course in computer science that's going to help you out the most in internships and stuff. Yeah, graduation date. Instead of putting like August 2023 to present, it's like going to be helpful. Like they could just like guess like 4 years, but it's always better to write down 2027 or whenever you plan to graduate by. Experience internship, OEG parts. Okay, so it looks like you did the same internship 2 separate years. If you can find some numbers that you said conducted business-centered data analytics, you know, maybe if you could put some numbers there, that's always going to be like more attractive to recruiters. Projects after Drive, Python, JSON. Yeah, I like that you linked the GitHub at the bottom of the projects. That's going to be like great to have recruiters be able to quickly view and your like demonstrated project right there. Design a real-time drowsy driving detection algorithm. Yeah, this is some really cool stuff. I like that you included like histogram of oriented gradients, descriptors, you know, good jargon that's gonna like be a good talking point as well. There's not too much to improve on this, but I say like once you're going up to the career fair, look over this and every bullet point, every experience and every project you should be able to talk about when you're prompted about it. So the recruiters are going to take your resume, they're going to read through it, they're going to pick maybe, hey, what's OEG parts? Can you explain what you did there? And you want to talk about it. You want to make yourself seem interesting, make yourself seem like someone they want to have on their team. And also you want to be able to demonstrate your impact on there. Yeah, I don't really see like too much to improve on the resume itself. I could see you have a bit of space at the bottom. So maybe you would play around with the margins a bit so that it takes up less space at the bottom, like less white space at the bottom and more distributed across the sides as well. But that's like a very small thing. Overall, this looks really good. Good job on this. Or if anyone has.
Okay, first of all, I just want to apologize. I think I said like some people graduating in 2026 were freshmen. That's just straight up wrong. It's class of 2027 now. I feel old now. What can I say? Yeah, Miguel actually just brought this up to me. Saying like internship under the experience section, it's better to just say like software engineering intern, or maybe like data science intern. Internship is very broad and doesn't tell your recruiter much, especially because your two roles seem pretty different, right? The earlier one is more of like a web development one, and the other one's like a ML job. And you want to show to recruiters like, okay, this isn't just the same thing. I'm learning and applying all these different skills in different years. So maybe saying like a web development intern and like AI ML intern would really help to show the difference between your two roles and kind of like, yeah, really just show the depth of your roles there. And one more thing, these links here, generally it's just better to like say like, here's a link to the GitHub and then just make a hyperlink. And like all the things in your resume, like you should just be able to hyperlink. I'm not sure if, yeah, I'm not sure if Docs allows you to do that too. I know LaTeX allows you to do that, but yeah, that's just a quick thing you can adjust that will make connecting with you digitally easier. All right. All right, Patrick. Okay. So the first thing I see from this resume is there is quite a lot of white space. So for each of the like headers, right? Maybe lean towards having several bullet points and really like elaborating on each of those rather than kind of like leaving it like just one thing. So we'll start going section by section. Education, you have discrete structures. That's a misspelling. Make sure you fix that. Advanced programming, awesome. List your GPA if applicable. High school, awesome. Other high school, cool. Once you start filling up more stuff on your resume, it's space gets more tight. You can drop the stuff on the high school because at the end of the day, unless you went to high school on Mars, like the recruiter, you're probably not going to care too much. National Merit Scholar, honors and awards. This is a good section to have, but generally I would say like honors and awards should go towards the bottom. The kind of middle, the front and center of your resume should be reserved to experiences and projects. So it's great that you're a National Merit Scholar and you got a perfect score on the AP CSP exam. But if you have more stuff that you'd more likely want to present to a recruiter, make sure you're putting that like right underneath the education and putting awards more towards the bottom. And again, some of the like the details on some of these awards can be omitted once you have more stuff to throw in your resume and less space to put it. So employment, this is good. Obviously, it's not CS related, but it's good that you're kind of starting with the with like quantifications and whatnot. And it's better than nothing, right? Activities, plan to contribute is kind of a weak bullet point, I would say. Maybe you planned a project, but planning to contribute, I don't know. And test scores, there's some impressive stuff there, honestly. But at the end of the day, recruiter is mostly going to care about what you did in college and not so much your AP scores in high school. Skills here, soft skills, I feel like generally you don't need on a resume if you're applying to a CS jobs. These hard skills are what you want. So I would say for this person, definitely look into doing some projects, right? A lot of your resume is just white space, and being able to show that you can apply these skills, I don't think there's really much on the resume where you're doing that at the moment. And you want somewhere on the resume where a recruiter can look and be like, wow, this guy really does know how to use Python or JavaScript, right? So you can literally just like look stuff up on YouTube, right? How to make a website, right? How to make a game or whatever. And you can just like code that within a weekend, right? Maybe take those skills and make a project idea of your own, pursue that. You can put that on your resume. A lot of times it doesn't take as long as you might think. So just like look into doing something like that because that at least gives you something applied that you can put like front and center in your resume and you can be proud of and you can show to recruiters.
Uh, what'd you use to make the resume? Patrick? Did you use a like a table or something for the test scores? What'd you use to make the test scores section? Okay. No, that's good for, so if it's a centered, if it's a table, I know that a lot of ATS, I don't know, did we talk about ATS in detail? So for those of you who don't know, ATS is applicant tracking system. Those are going to be for all the big companies that are receiving like hundreds of thousands of resumes. They're not going to like go through and scan it or like read every one. So they're going to have a computer read through your resume. And a lot of the time, if you're using a table, I guess this might pass if it's just like centered text, but if you're using like a table, the ATS might not always like that. So it's better to just like avoid those like fancy formatting techniques. And also just like for recruiters to visually read, you know, like the skills section, having it centered while everything else is left justified, is gonna like look more jarring on the eyes. And then the activity section, you know, you have open source club with one bullet point and then surf club without a bullet point. It's better to have like consistent formatting. You know, all throughout, just have like consistent formatting throughout all of your bullet points as well. But yeah, like Max was saying, it's good to have projects. I know like as a freshman, sophomore, are you sophomore? Freshman, yeah. So freshman, it's first semester, it's gonna be like rough to get projects on your resume. Especially for your first career fair, if it's your first career fair. But like after this, try to develop more of those. Yeah, and then white space, I don't know, you could play around with the font, like increase the font, mess with the justification to try to like make it more aesthetically pleasing, you know?
In that case, you're the person that was talking to. And yeah. Totally understand. You're not gonna have a strong sense of, but you have a template, like honestly, if you're using a template, I think that's, how much, moving and context, honestly, just like, trying to have projects, when yeah, just like, start, I think, once you start working, like an inspired.
Okay, so Abhinav, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Okay, cool. Off the bat again, Jake's resume, kind of same thing. So really good job on that. You have your GPA, great job, 3.83. You have your coursework, data structures, your skills right after. Have a lot of projects, so that's really good. You already have 4. Let's see, developed. Really good job on, especially like the second one, you have the 80%, you're using numbers. I would say maybe just try to, the other 3 projects, try to get at least 1 number in there. I know it can be hard, again, to get those numbers in, but really try your best to find something that you can talk about that includes, you know, a number. Good. Let's see. Experience, you have software engineering club. Great job again, number of you have your let's see, treasurer, saves. I mean, I don't really have anything to like really pick out besides what I already mentioned. You kind of hit the spot with everything besides just getting a few more numerical numbers in the projects. I mean, like great job on the involvement having those 4 projects already. Pretty sure you're a sophomore, so that's really good. You guys have anything?
Yeah.
Oh, freshman. Okay, my bad. I didn't see the date. I couldn't see it here. Yeah, so
This is
for a freshman,
Great,
I
great,
mean,
great.
like, you can't really.
good enough to get hired by FPC head of operations. Wow. Funny how that works. Also, it has Reddit YouTube generation, which I thought was awesome.
Different shell hacks.
Yep. So, no, this is really good. Resume.
Obviously responsible for getting us pizza at all our workshops. Thanking for pizza.
Okay, before we go on, we have a few more minutes. Is there anyone that would, that like really wants? Yes, what's your name? Right here.
You want to?
Are you-
Computer science, electrical engineering minor. Relevant coursework, looks good. You could include your awards in another section, maybe. I feel like this top education section is a little bit cramped. Usually, a lot of people have like awards. And like they have like an awards and achievement section, maybe. To highlight, to really highlight those individually. And involvement, okay, you could also include involvement in another section as well. Well, actually, you have involvement down here. You could just put. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, let's see what else you have. Java, Python. All right. Yep. Multimodal. All right. Yeah. And so a lot of recruiters are gonna look at your resume, and if they spot a typo, they might honestly just some recruiters could just throw it away at that moment. Um, underline. I don't know how everyone feels about underlining, but I personally don't do it. In my experience, it's not preferred. But if you're trying to underline like keywords, then it could work in some instances, I'm sure. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Also, I noticed you put like a specific name here. I feel like it's a lot of people that might not mean or like they won't know who that is. And if you're gonna include something on your resume, um just like make sure you are thinking about your audience and try to include something that they're gonna understand. What else? This is good. I like how you include numbers, like 99.9% validation. Really highlights that you did well if it's validated. What else?
Like obviously, we have all this stuff on here, and all this doesn't look like impressive, right? Don't get me wrong. But at a certain point, like you have to start talking about it, and you're looking all off of one line. So you're definitely trying to like put this stuff in here. But honestly, I would consider like maybe your weakest link, throw it out, just so you can give everything else a little bit more room to breathe. Because I just felt like really shoved in.
Okay. And then for your projects, I think it would be helpful, or what year are you? Freshman, seems like. If you could put which like libraries or like languages you used or frameworks in these projects. On in the- Okay. Yeah, for ATS. You just you took it out to add extra keywords for ATS. All right. Well, I think it's still important to include them somewhere, just to kind of show how you're like capable. Because a lot of recruiters will look at your resume, especially at a career fair. They're going to read it, or at least glance over it. So if they see those things, and they're gonna think like, if this guy's experienced with it, like you could probably hire him, or we could like highlight that resume. Did you have anything else? To add? Yeah.
You have the quantification, so, and you kind of like have everything you need in these bullets. So no, like, this is a very well written.
Yeah.
I think we have the 45. At the end of the day, we just can't. If you have like a lot of stuff, like AI, right, or AI projects, you can take out some of that. If there's something that you think that use the same like stack or use the same principles as another like project, you can take like only one of them. At the end of the day, you're still like. Yeah. Yeah. We want to finish the pump down, but and it's weird to say this, but just like maybe use the word. Because as it stands, like, all the stuff in the reading section, right? If it's like pushed so close together, it can be kind of hard to tell everything apart. And yeah, I like, yeah, I pretty much there's like very little margin. But no, it's definitely very low.
Miguel had something important to
Yeah.
add.
So I noticed that you have like for experience, you have stuff that you're currently doing at the top, right? But then in involvement, you have something that you're currently doing below something that ended in 2022. It's kind of preference. Some people like to put like whatever they think is more important at the top. The most important thing is just to keep it consistent. So if you're going to keep the things that you're currently doing at the top, make sure you're doing that throughout the whole resume.
Let's, anyone, one more real quick? Anyone have a question? I see, you second. Rock, paper, scissors, you two, right now.
On the right one, okay. All right, so I guess small thing is it kind of looks like two separate fonts in the education section. I don't know if I'm seeing that right. On the last resume as well, the relevant coursework and awards, personally, I'd like to indent underneath the university because the university is like the more important thing in the education section. And it also kind of follows the pattern you'd see in like the experience and involvement section, where it has like the university and then what you did in that university. So maybe if you have space, just indent those. Let's see. Full stack development intern is good. Busser. So for experience, are you a freshman? Yeah, so it's good to show that you have like out of CS experience with like servers and assisting servers and chefs, arranging tables. So that's gonna like be important. It's better than nothing, obviously, but what as you go in your university journey, maybe you want to take that out to focus it more on like the software engineering part or like the jobs you're applying to, right? Extracurricular involvement. So if you're going for the recency ordering, maybe I see the third bullet point starts in September, or the third like experience starts in September, which comes like after August. So maybe move that up. Undergrad researcher. Is there anything you could put in front of intern? To like make it more descriptive, make it more like visual when they first read your resume. Okay, say intern. Okay, maybe you could put like event planning intern, because intern is the first word they see. And that's like not gonna be as descriptive as event planning intern. If they see event planning intern, they're more primed to like be able to read your bullet points. Cannonballs and momentum, Python and Pygame. So, did you do these in like class or anything, these projects? Okay, so if you're allowed to have like a public GitHub repo, that might be something that the recruiters want to look at, to be able to see like exactly what you did. I think GitHub even shows you like the distribution of languages and everything. I'll try to rush through the rest because I guess we are a bit over time. Leadership positions, president, tutor, residential assistant. So yeah, I really like the numbers here. Raised over 20,000 in aid, to aid national charities. Yeah, and then you see, you said like mentored and assisted 40 to 50 students. So numbers are great. Numbers are gonna catch attention the best. Um, could you explain what the difference is between your first thing and the extracurricular and the third thing? Because they're both SACE. I'm not like too familiar with SACE. Okay, so they're, yeah, I guess again, writing like event planner intern might like help distinguish that. Yeah, overall, like really great experience. It's packed resume for a freshman, which is a good thing. Um, obviously don't make it too packed, but I think this is like a good amount. Um, Obviously, like as a freshman, I think you get the like idea that you like can't get into like research, right? So like that's one thing. As a freshman, like getting and that's like something that's going on. Also like applying to jobs. I don't know if you like had luck this year, but basically you essentially want to just keep applying and trying to get a like
company or something onto your resume, you did that experience category, because that's great. And as far as like what you can do here, like maybe leadership positions, participate in hackathons for projects. Yeah, research is great, but besides that, just like keep applying and try and get an internship position somewhere to kind of elevate the resume. That's kind of about all I can say there.
Projects.
Projects.
Maybe find like projects that you can work on. Like they're distinct or unique, because all the recruiters will ask about projects. When you're in an interview, you will talk about projects. It's kind of like one of the main talking points when
Yeah.
you're in an interview.
And you kind of asked like, okay, what should I do now? There's still like so much you can learn with respect to like programming, right? Like there's not much on here about like web development, right? You throw up a web development project or an AI project onto this this resume, right? And you instantly it has like much more of a broad appeal. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, like I definitely say like shoot for a project in like those categories.
It doesn't have to be like super complex either. Like it can be a really simple project, but as long as you can talk about it, that's
Yeah.
what's the most important thing. It doesn't have to be like super complex, because I feel like a lot of people first come in, they think project means it has to be something like super big or super complex. No, it's just simple. You can talk about it to a recruiter. All that.
You can do it in 1 weekend in a hackathon.
Yeah.
And you can throw it in this. So don't get discouraged for that, for that reason.
If we didn't get to you and you want the resume reviewed, the FEP Discord has a resume channel with some great tips, not only from the board, but from other members as well. I don't know if ACM has something like that.
We have a channel for advice and help, and you can send your resume in there, and one of us on the board can review.
Yeah, ton of great resources. We're gonna post the slides later. There's some resources on there as well. Yeah.
Yep, I hope you guys enjoy it. Good luck with the career fair next week. And we'll be
I just wanted to say, for everyone that doesn't know, the Career Connection Center started tomorrow doing a free resume printing on that nice paper. You guys can get it free, so it's a good program to fill out. For the group.
I guess if I can find that form, I'll send it in the announcement.
Thank you all for coming. Do that with you.
It was Max, right?
Yeah.
So I'm currently training program for Clubfinity. Once I finish, is it guaranteed that I get in, or are there certain slots to fill the tech officer position?
I think you're.
Yes.
Like, yeah, if you like done and you like clearly tried on everything, whatever. Xander, you can talk to him. He'll like.
Okay, should I like DM him or like once I finish?
If I'm not mistaken, there should be, okay, there's a new officers channel.
Yeah, there's an officer training and officers.
Yeah, so, if you're, you can message, you can like, when you're done, message him in the officers training channel.
Okay.
And tell him that, you're like, you've finished the training and everything, you'll be like, move on. And you'll be added to an onboarding channel.
Okay.
Where we can get you like familiar with the color process. So, yeah, it's basically you just have to message Xander in the new officers channel. He'll help.
Okay, awesome. I just have like React left.
Yeah.
So once I do that, I'll let him. Thank you.